Well, welcome everybody. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for session 2 of the Youth Workforce Development Workshop focused on fostering your future workforce. Today's workshop is hosted in partnership with the United States Department of Office of Partnerships and Public Engagement and the National Institute for Food and Agriculture's Regional Rural Development Centers. Before we dive into today's discussion, let's go over a few housekeeping items. Today's workshop will be recorded, and a copy of the recording will be available to registered participants via the participant information webpage. You'll find a link to that in the chat box. Speaking of chat box, we invite and encourage active participation through the chat box. We'll be actively monitoring and answering questions, addressing comments, and we'll also be using the chat box to help facilitate today's activities. Next slide. All right, in order to have a robust conversation for today, let's do a quick recap of Monday's discussion. So session 1 really focused on the foundational pillars of the bridge building activity, helping participants think about the state of youth within their community and its current state and what it would look like as an ideal state. Today's session will really focus on the how. How do we get there? What steps the community can take to reach that idealized state that we talked about on Monday, with a really specific emphasis on youth and workforce development. The 3 sections that we will cover today have been identified as critical areas that need to be addressed to effectively foster an engaged, prepared, and trained workforce. These areas will serve as a foundational building blocks for your how for achieving an idealized state of youth in your community. Our intent in sharing this information with you is that our hope is that you will in turn share this information with your community. This train the trainer model will exponentially grow the impact of today's workshop. Next slide. So as you can see, we have a pretty jam-packed schedule, just like on Monday. And we will be, all throughout today, we'll be building upon the lessons learned on session 1. We know there's a lot of content, so if you could stick with us, we'll make sure you get something really good out of it. And we know that sitting in front of your computer for 3 hours is a lot, so we do plan on providing a break. So you can see we have those 3 sections that I mentioned earlier. All right, the fun stuff. All right, so before we start, I'm gonna ask everybody to, in the chat box, to define what the awareness gap is. Using your own words, what is their definition of the awareness gap? And I'm gonna pick on somebody to elaborate, so. All right, while folks finish typing their answers, for the purposes of today's discussion, we have identified the awareness gap as the gap between what young people think they know about a particular career or industry and the reality of what of that career and industry looks like. This conversation is really centered on bridging the gap between 2 major components. One component is providing young people with opportunities to really explore career pathways, and including assisting young people with identifying and navigating opportunities. And the other component is working with employers to build awareness of what skill sets are needed for that specific jobs available within either their industry or their organization. From a workforce development perspective, this is a critical area of consideration for those working with youth because it holds young people back from finding the appropriate relevant employment. Additionally, this gap results in an economic loss for organizations that struggle to fill open positions. A key example that we like to use to illustrate this gap is the conversation we have with young people about what a career in agriculture looks like. Young people do a great job at describing what they consider traditional careers. So we, for example, have a lot of young people who tell us, you need an agricultural science degree or you need an agricultural communication degree to work in agriculture. But often they struggle to identify what they consider non-traditional ag careers, such as ag economics, right? Or statisticians, finance, loan processors. All of the careers and career specialties that are needed to, and that are critical to ensuring a robust and well-rounded agricultural system. That's just one example of many of industries and that illustrates the gap, the awareness gap between what young people believe an industry looks like or a career looks like in a particular industry and what the reality is. Next slide. So we have already hit our breakout session, and I think we have about 15 minutes, 20 minutes for this breakout discussion. So as we break out into groups, we are asking folks to have a really robust conversation around describe what it would take to empower young people to successfully navigate between career exploration and career attainment in the community, in that particular community that you represent, and what barriers exist, and give some examples of what strategies have worked. So with that said, we'll go ahead and break out into our breakout sessions. All right, welcome back, everybody. How was that? How was that conversation? Deb, how was your group?
I enjoyed the conversation with my group. Again, extension colleagues that I'm getting to know across the United States. I spent time with Alaska and New Mexico. And yeah, we've had a good conversation. In fact, the new person into the group is the one who will share if you're going to take time to share.
Yeah, let's do that. Who's going to share from your group?
So, so Newt is going to share what we talked about, and then the rest of our team, if you think he missed something or you want to add something, I think we have enough time to do that.
So yes, team, please, if I miss anything, don't hesitate to chip in. But some of the barriers that we recognize were Alaska, for example, very rural community, very limited opportunities as far as career exploration for firsthand experiences. In addition to that, limited bandwidth for pursuing, career exploration, even virtually. So that's a huge challenge. And the lack of awareness of career opportunities that aren't within their immediate community. So some of those broader experiences in getting them there are challenges. I think youth now are extremely busy with extracurricular activities, so to try and pull them away to experience some career exploration is challenging as far as firsthand. Schools, it's challenging for them to find time to implement career exploration within the classroom and within the school time. There are some that do have, CTE programs and different programs, but it's rather limited. What's working is there's a lot of momentum towards this effort. I think industry and the education is seeing the huge need for addressing career development, workforce development.
I think the only thing that you didn't let them know was really cool that's going on is that you are in a brand new position, which has been put together to help foster career exploration and prepare young people in New Mexico. I think that's a great thing to mention.
All right, what about you, Bo? What would your group talk about?
I will go ahead and turn over to Sadie, who was gracious enough to take good notes.
Okay, so we talked about a lot of the similar subjects. So we talked about, just there being a gap in career exploration and how we can show students that there are more opportunities out there in the agriculture industry and in rural communities than they might think. We spent some time talking about especially careers outside of agriculture and how rural areas still need doctors and bankers and lawyers, and making sure that we're getting students interested in those careers as well. We talked a lot about the community aspect of it, just making sure that we're engaging students in the community and showing the needs of the community in career exploration. And we also talked about the importance of mentorship, how if students are interested in working at a business, it's more than them just sweeping the floors. It's actually having a mentor showing them the ropes and getting them interested in the career. But that is what I have down. Just let me know if I missed anything.
Yeah, let's see if David and Cheryl and Vince, we had three of our colleagues there. And do you have anything to add? I know you talked about maybe also Cheryl made a comment about you got to keep them engaged. You got to keep it interesting, otherwise you'll lose them. So Cheryl or David or Vince, anything you want to add to that discussion?
I just add that it's a community development thing. The community needs to support the youth, encourage them to come back, have opportunities for them to come back. And if your youth don't come back, if the opportunities were there, you'll get other youth from other communities that come back. And so in order to have a thriving community, it takes the whole community. That sounds corny, I know it does. But you've got to be welcoming and inviting and building it together.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I covered it.
Thanks, Vince. Thanks, Cheryl. Thank you, Sadie. We'll turn it back over to you, Tori, to call on the other group.
Great. What about you, Carol's group? What was the conversation you all had?
Had excellent group. I got the rock stars. Yay. And so I want to thank Anna and Nancy and Russ and Alyssa for a robust conversation. And I was a note taker, so I'll just do a quick summary. And then I asked part of the group to please jump in and add to anything. We talked a little bit about the barriers and having a resource, a good pool of resources for the positions that are in the workforce in that region and that community and around, and the actual position itself to talk about that are available. The other one, we mentioned some of the barriers is we do a lot of community, or a lot of schools do career day, but career days are limited to what's in that community. And sometimes they have parents come in, so the social and economic could have an impact of the variety of careers that are discussed. And your smaller rural communities may not have that. And to have a more expanded process to where you could bring more variety in. And the other one is not fully aware of the opportunities and with the families, and not only the students, but I go back to what David said, the community, but Nancy was really good to talk about making sure that the families are involved and have the families be aware of what's there too, because they're the support network for our students. And so, you know, that they're aware of the opportunities and the things that are available to their students. So some of the barriers is not the fully awareness. And then we flip side, and Russ brought up a really good thing about career fairs, that when people talk about their industry and their jobs, they use a lot of industry jargon and acronyms, and to make sure that when you're talking about your jobs, that you're talking about them in layman's terms. To also bring in I want to go back and I'm going to just quick summarize to bring in the realities of the position. Every job has great things and not so glamorous things, and to be real when you talk about the jobs. Again, bringing the families along to participate in the programs like 4-H and things like that, to get so the students have that support from the career exploration all the way to career attainment, and make sure that people are explaining all the jobs that are available in the company. And the key thing is companies need to think about what young people are looking for in a career. And it's more than just putting a widget together. It's having that, making that difference, knowing where they do, knowing what their impact is in the company and in their community around them. So that's really quick. Anybody else have anything to add?
Thanks a lot, Carol. Thanks for that group. You know, for our group, we really talked a lot about the strategies that are being undertaken to address this gap. Talked about Julio from Chicago, mentioned some of the partnerships with private sector that are happening, and between industry, some on-site learning opportunities for young people to really get out there and see what's going on and see what industry looks like. We talked about role modeling, some shadowing opportunities for young people. You know, we talked about we recently launched at USDA our Faces of Agriculture speaker series, where young people can learn virtually about these really cool worlds that even some of our USDA staff don't know about, right? So really helping bridge that gap between what's out there, what the reality of the workforce looks like, and some really cool jobs. We talked about our roles as puzzle masters, and kind of figuring out like balancing between school, work, the need to bring income in for the family, but also the need to get experience, and how you have to fit all of those things together in order to really help a young person really identify what they want to do in life and how to actually get there. So really robust conversation, very similar to what many of you guys have shared, many of you all have shared so far. So I appreciate that. Now, did I miss anybody? Did I miss any groups? Cool. So the next few slides are really aimed at highlighting the various programs and resources that can aid you all as you look for strategies to address the awareness gap in your community. One example is for example, the Youth in Agriculture website provides a host of useful information for educators, youth serving organizations, students. Its main aim is to educate and empower young people in agriculture, either in the classroom through educators or through internship and career opportunities. You can find information on career and training paths in food and ag, natural resources, and human sciences. Additionally, programs like USDA's Agriculture Discovery or Ag Discovery have a long history of opening up opportunities for career exploration for young people of ages 15 through 17. This 2 to 4 week summer outreach program is meant to explore careers in plant and animal science, wildlife management, agribusiness, and a few others. The program allows students teens to live on campus and learn about the agricultural industry from university professors, scientists, administrative staff, and also USDA personnel. So those are just two of a variety of different resources that will be on this PowerPoint that you can learn more about how to bridge that gap between career exploration and attain it and really address the awareness gap. Next, my colleague Sadie Lackey is going to take you on a quick tour of some of these resources. Sadie, do you want to take it away?
All right, so I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen real quick so I can get to the website. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to run through the Bureau of Labor Statistics website. First off, there is a lot of information on this website, so I'm just going to show you all the tools that I think is really helpful as we're trying to help youth discover different careers and how to plan for careers. So on the home page, you can already tell it's pretty full. This is a really cool tool right here. You can go through by region and get some statistics, or you can go through by state. So you can go here and you can find your state and you can search many different subjects that way, or you can find a particular subject and then find your state. So for example, if I want to look at pay, I can go here and then I'll find my state and I'll pull up different statistics about, I'm from Georgia, so it'll find different statistics about Georgia. So that's a really cool tool on the home page there. And if you look at the bar up here, you'll find a lot of different breakdowns. You can go by subject, you can search publications, and there's also a number of data tools that you can use just to kind of give more clarity to the numbers that are being presented, as well as, economic releases. There's a place where students and teachers can go on there to get some resources, as well as some interactive parts for students to just start thinking about the labor industry and what jobs look like. What I really want to show y'all is the resources for the different folks that might come on the website. And so if you look at the sidebar right here, it's customized to students and teachers or media, policymakers, whatever have you. And so I'm actually going to look at job seekers, because this is a really cool page just to get some more information on potential jobs out there, what the pay looks like, what the education level looks like, and just a lot of great information on this page. And if you go down to the bottom, they actually have USA Jobs on there, and they have different job searching tools to help you find a job. And so as you see, there's workplace safety, stats on benefits, stats on wages by area. But what I really want to take a look at is this career outlook part. So career outlook is a tool, one of the many tools that this site offers. And you can go look through this and you can find all types of different tools to just give a good range of what a particular career can look like, the qualifications, what a day looks like in that specific job. So I like to go to About, and you'll find it broken down right here, what all Career Outlook can offer and give insight on. I also want to point out that throughout this website, there are a number of videos that go along with the data, just so you understand what you're looking at. If you don't completely understand the statistics or the subject it's covering, BLS does a really great job of making sure that you understand what you're looking at, and it gives you a clear picture. So I'm going to go to the interview with a ... That's a really cool tool here. So there's all kinds of different careers here that you can pick. I'm going to pick landscape architect, and it just goes through, and it's where the actual architect goes through and answers questions related to this career. So it gives really great insight there, but also there's statistics over here about how much they make, what kind of employment distribution there is. Are they self-employed? Is it through the government? What have you? As well as just some more extra statistics here. And so this is a really great way if you want to brief yourself on a career to talk to a student, or if you want to send articles like these and publications like these to a student to get them interested. This is a really great tool to do so. You'll find on this website that BLS does a really great job of putting data into perspective, and they do that through articles and through interviews and publications such as these. So the majority of the tools you're going to find are going to be in an article or publication form, just to bring it all together. And so the last thing I want to show y'all that is super helpful on the website as well as this tool is you can look up careers. So if I look up farmer, just generally farmer, you're going to get a ton of publications, a ton of articles that has mostly anything to do with working in agriculture or working on a farm. So this one's working with animals, this one's farming in the 21st century, and you'll find that some are pretty outdated, like that's from 2005, but then you have some from 2018, 2019 that are super useful as we have those conversations about agriculture or about the healthcare system or whatever have you. So you can definitely get on here and spend some time, but what I would suggest is kind of have an idea in mind of what you want to find and look through as many publications as possible. Because if you go on the right-hand side of this page, there's related content, related subjects, and you can spend a lot of time in those. So BLS is a hub of information when it comes to careers and can be really useful as your students do some career exploration, just so they're prepared and know what they're getting themselves into too. So this is the youth website that we mentioned from the USDA. And I want to go ahead and come down here to these 4 little points. Basically, this website is used to be a toolbox. It's full of USDA curated programs and curriculum, as well as who USDA partners with, and just other suggestions for helping youth become more involved in agriculture and interested in the industry. So for example, if we go here for educators and community leaders, you're going to find information about ag in the classroom. You're going to find information about 4-H, teen nutrition, other ways to get students involved. But what I want to point to is this tool right here, the internships and career opportunities. So really, here's a really great way to try to get students, or a lot of tools to help get students involved in ag and forestry and natural resources and related sciences. I did want to point out this grid. It's a really neat tool. So for example, you have a student in 4-H that is doing a project over marketing. You can, point them to this grid or pique their interest through this grid by showing them the different agencies they can become involved in that relate to agricultural marketing. So just a really great tool there to get students involved in the jobs of the USDA. I think it's a really great place to work, but I'm a little biased. You can also find through here different internship opportunities like our Pathways programs, as well as our One USDA internship program, our 1890 National Scholars Program. I definitely don't want to get too deep into any of these programs because we could spend a while on them, But highly recommend looking into our 1890 National Scholars Program if that applies to your student, if they do attend a historically Black land-grant college and university. We celebrated those scholars last week, and it was a really special event, so definitely check those out. And we also have a number of third-party internship programs, and so taking a look through those, just really great opportunities for students going in to higher education, just making sure that they know that these opportunities through the USDA are here, that these partnerships are here. And like going back to the 1890 Scholars Program, if they are elected into that program, they have their tuition and fees paid, and they actually, you know, have a job through the USDA that can be converted into full time. So these are programs that have real results and can get students into really great careers. And then here at the bottom, we just have the Discover Your Career and the Ag Explore tools that help students find careers in agriculture that may interest them. But Tori, if you have anything else on those websites, that's basically, you know, when I go to these websites, this is what I would look for using them as tools, but a lot of great information on both.
Yeah, I'll just add that as you go back to the main page is that one of the things we were intentional about as we built that page is that telling stories from a youth perspective. So having young people tell the stories of their journey into those careers and into those internships and positions, or, you know, as an ERT volunteer, and what that looked like from the perspective of a student. We're really intentional about that. So you're not hearing from, you know, the USDA staff, but you're actually hearing from the folks who have actually had that experience. So we're really intentional about storytelling as we built out that site. So I appreciate you giving us a quick demo on that. I encourage everybody to visit that page and check it out. And we'll return back to our regularly scheduled program.
Yeah, so I'm seeing at least one comment in the chat. These websites are on the workshop resource that is posted on the participant webpage. And I believe Catherine posted that link in the chat. Of course, we will do that a couple of more times, but I assume we will also be doing some follow-up too. So if you have not seen all of these websites before, just some great resources that we're going to reiterate in addition to others that you may know. We could certainly spend gobs of time just on the sorts of online opportunities there are out there. All right, we're going to switch gears a little bit. Sadie, can you go back to the PowerPoint? So as I'm getting ready to talk about addressing the skills gap, I'm going to give you a heads up. I don't want you to venture too far away, but we're going to do some quick artwork this afternoon as a part of my piece. So, or morning, if it's still morning where you are. What I do need you to do is find a piece of paper. It could be a piece of scrap paper, and it really doesn't matter what size it is, but probably bigger than a Post-it note. And you are also going to be asked to find 2 different writing utensils so that hopefully they're 2 different colors. So for example, might be a pen that writes in black and a pen that writes in blue, or maybe it's a pen and a pencil. But just as a heads up, in just a couple of moments, you're going to need those. So I want to kind of set the stage for talking about addressing the skills gap. We just spent some time with Tori thinking about the skills gap and how much awareness effort there could still be going on, and the size of the gap that exists out there across the United States. You should still be focused on the how and how you will reach your wow for today. So I know we also have 2 or 3 people on that were not on Monday, which is why I want to reiterate how we're approaching this and why we're going through these steps that we're going through. I want to remind you that as we walk through the bridge building activity, we are doing it in a way that we hope that you can model after today. You could do this with a group of colleagues. You could do this with a community group, with a group of youth development individuals in the community that you're trying to bring together, or that you're trying to inspire for them to go the next step and do the bridge building activity. As we continue to work on rural workforce development, we are focused on the how today. So these ideas we are giving you, these activities that we're doing are all about different opportunities that you might write into the how component of building your bridge, because we already did the now and the wow as the foundation on both sides of what you're trying to link together. There are many topics that we could use to discuss, but today we chose to focus on three things: life skills development, resume writing, and technical skills certification, which, at least in my mind, are those certifications that either individuals in career technical education can achieve, or a variety of other certifications that can help young people and adults become workforce ready. It has been my experience that when we start engaging adults and trying to work with adults in a community to help young people figure out their career paths and getting them ready for workforce development, that sometimes adults can feel a little uncertain and somewhat intimidated to be able to work with young people. For whatever reasons, they sometimes feel like they need to be experts or be degreed to be supportive and jump right into helping young people prepare. And in my career, I have spent a lot of time just trying to teach and bolster the confidence of adults as much as I have had the opportunity to teach face-to-face and in groups with young people. So I just want to put that forward. You know, we all need a little help and a little confidence builder now and then. I want to mention career and technical education before we move forward. And we're going to do a couple of brief activities here coming up to address the other couple of topics. But I want to remind everyone, or let you know if you're not familiar with them, when we think about career technical education, which is huge and full of opportunities across our nation, they have these items called career ready practices, which very much mimic life skills, soft skills, job ready skills, whatever term you want to put with them. And they are the types of things that, whether we happen to be an extension staff person, whether we are a student intern, whether we are a community city council member, whatever our role is, we can be very supportive and foster such things as responsibility, healthy living practices, personal financial management, communication and problem-solving skills, using technology and having practice in being able to work in a team and be a team player. That sure sounds an awful lot like what we talk about as life skills or soft skills. During my 25 years in Extension, I have always had some sort of relationship and interaction with local career technical ed. And if you don't currently do that, I would strongly encourage you to think about that as a piece of your how as you move forward with trying to help make a difference here. There's lots of ways to do that. Whether someone volunteers to be on an advisory board for one of their programs, to collaborate, to potentially host students for job shadowing or other types of experiences, to coach or to mentor not only the young people, but all of the instructors and educators that work in the field of career and technical ed. So there's lots of opportunities out there. All right, Sadie, I think we can go to the next slide. All right, so to move forward, I want us to sort of have a common definition just for the next little bit of time about the difference between hard skills and soft skills. So as I think about and teach skills in the workforce development field, hard skills, or another word commonly used, are technical skills, are those things that are more knowledge-based or that someone has become proficient in. They have sort of mastered something. That could be things such as math, science, English, writing, sports, photography, those sorts of things that are tangible and you've been taught, that you have this increased knowledge base that you're carrying around. When we talk about soft skills, the words that go hand in hand are soft skills and life skills. And very much as Tori had us start thinking about those sorts of things earlier today, those are the things that help us function and be productive citizens, residents in our communities, and making and contributing to our workforce. So I am going to ask you to engage with me, and we're going to make a mask to demonstrate this concept. So I'm hoping by now that you have found or reached a piece of paper and that you have two different writing instruments with you that are hopefully going to have different colored lead or ink or something with them. If not, now's your chance to grab those. Okay, so what I would like you to do on your piece of paper, and again, we're not being graded. You can, no worries, I'm a beginner artist, so I'm sure everyone can beat my design here. But I would like you to draw a very simple mask on your piece of paper. My mask looks like this. Very simple, nothing too complicated. And with one of the writing utensils that you have, it does not matter what color it is, but I would like you to put some words on your mask. And what I would like you to first list are the topics or activities that you are good at or involved in, or that are important to you. And I'm going to give you a moment to do that. So in my case, I'm not going to show you my whole mask right at the moment, but the types of things that I wrote down on mine included being an educator, being involved in outdoor activities, being a leader, being a horse owner, church, travel, and some other things that I listed. There are no right or wrong answers to this. But if you have at least one or two items on your mask, what I would like you to do next is to take the other colored writing instrument, because we want to, there's going to be something kind of pop out at you here as we put these two together. I would like you to take the other colored writing instrument and now put the words on your mask that represent the soft skills or the life skills that you or a person learns by being involved in those activities or those things or mastering those skills. And we'll have to give you a moment to do that. And again, just as a quick example, I'm going to be a participant here and I'm going to show you what I did. So there we have my mask. And the two different colors should pop out at you there. So the types of life skills that I added by being involved in those sorts of things include things like being dedicated, having social skills, being a team player, developing leadership, being organized and responsible. So I would like you to look at your mask now or the notes that you made, and you should see a different picture. So as we interact with young people or we interact as adults, what we are involved in or what we do is one piece of the puzzle. The other piece is what experiences or what are we gaining or enhancing or developing as a part of being involved in those things, doing the work that we do, the hobbies we have, the things that we have accomplished. So with that, I hope that as you look at your mask or you look at this as a list, not only does it show you what a person has been involved with or accomplished, but what are they developing? What skills, employability skills, workforce skills are they gaining by being involved in those types of things? So with that said, Sadie, we're doing good. Just stay put here for the moment. This leads into how can we potentially help young people and employers and people in our community think about what young people need to write up on their resumes, or how do we help them understand that they are ready to fill potential opportunities with what they have learned how to do or the skills that they have. So we are going to, I'm going to do an example with you, and then we're going to do breakouts and talk a little more about this. Sadie, could you stop sharing the screen for the moment? Thank you. And I'm going to share my screen. So give me a thumbs up if you can see this job position. Okay. Can you find your reaction or some? Excellent. Thank you, Carol. Okay, because I've got it hopefully large enough that you can see. So this is the way this works. Yesterday, I pulled off of agcareers.com this actual position that is for an agricultural sales representative with PCA that is currently available with Wilbur Ellis in Yuma, Arizona. And I would like us to look at least the first couple of categories on this position. And I want us to put in the chat, what are the soft skills or the life skills that they are looking for with this position? So for those that may not be on by camera, I'm just going to read just a smidge of this to you. The sales representative is responsible for managing existing and attracting new customers within the sales territory. Assist branch customers with proper product selection and use based agronomic needs. I've tried to say that like 10 times today and I'm still stuttering on it. And maintain and develop profitable customer relationships. In addition, they have identified that the key skills include ability to work independently with minimum supervision, willingness to travel, experience in the retail agronomy industry. You must at least have a bachelor's degree, and PCA is required. So in the chat, I want to see if we are all in tune. Who can tell me in the chat what PCA is? All right, we have at least one guess that indicates Product Credit Association. That might be a valid thing. That's not quite what I'm looking for with an agricultural sales position. I believe that in this case, because they are working with agronomy and they are working as a salesperson, I believe they are looking for a person certified as a pest control advisor. So that fits very nicely with us talking about certifications and CTAE and some of those things that you can obtain to make yourselves marketable. All right, so in the chat, tell me what Wilbur Ellis is looking for in the way of life skills as they posted this position. What do they want in their sales rep people? Great, looking for a self-starter, needing to have people skills, self-motivated, being responsible, also working as a team, critical thinking, good communicator, work independently. Yes, they talked about needing to be able to work by yourself, but at the same time, you have to be able to work within the team together. Also need to be willing to travel and have new experiences, right? And possibly do research. Excellent. Good job. All right. So with that, I have also experienced recently that, well, recently and within the last couple of years of my work, I have heard a lot of young people indicate that they don't know why in school they have to put together a resume. They do it as a class assignment, but they don't totally get why, how, or when they're going to use it, or for how long they're going to use it into their future. At the same time, I know there are some of us in this webinar today that have heard from employers and talk with employers and hear them say, we do not have enough viable candidates in our applicant pool. We have individuals applying for positions who are not qualified. So I think between those two, we have an opportunity through your how to help create some and make a difference. So with that, I believe that our facilitators have a variety of job postings with them at their handy. And we sort of assign those ahead of time because I'm hoping that in our groups that we will look at different ones, which will make our wrap up a little more rich at the end because we can share the differences together. But what before we break up, I want to remind you that as we think about resumes and helping people do this or helping individuals in a community understand what to look for and how to help young people, I'd like to give you a few quick tips about what we might look for when we help them with resumes. I want to remind everyone that we need to keep resumes in a very simple professional format that is very easy to load into software that a company requires, since most of these things are turned in online nowadays. I cannot convey enough for communities, educators, and young people to understand that resumes need to be edited 100 times. We can always find errors. We can always find different opinions and different ways to say things. Currently, we teach that there is no objective on a resume. And I also encourage individuals to quantify their experiences. And by that, I mean, if a young person happens to have a summer job and they were a cashier or they worked in customer service in some sort of position, or they were a host or hostess, how many people are you interacting with? How many things, if there are tangible items that you have been involved in picking or moving or providing part of the supply chain for? Quantifying what they've done is much more powerful than just indicating that they worked in customer service or that they were a cashier or that they were a host at a local restaurant. And then the other thing I want to mention is helping them understand what good references are, who should be references for them, and to ask those references ahead of time if they are okay being a reference. Those are important things for us to think about. So I am going to have us go into breakout rooms, and our facilitators are going to use the job postings that we shared ahead of time with each other. You're each going to look at a different one, and we're going to try to do something similar and just, we're going to have a conversation. What's the type of person they're looking for? What can we glean from looking at postings of how we might help foster more appropriate resumes and candidates for job applicants? Let's maybe do about, maybe about 10 minutes for this, and then we'll come back. So give us a 1-minute warning. All right, I'm gonna pick on my group here real quick. Just kind of a one or two liner takeaway from each of the groups, because we did eat up a little time with this. I would like my group, I believe Deb, the other Deb, is going to just indicate, we had an engineering type position that we talked about. So Deb, with that position, what sorts of skills did we think we wanted to help kids understand, either how to convey or to have?
We wanted to convey that there's much more than just getting a job on what it says on the resume, more of thinking outside the box, applying the 4-H projects to it with like responsibility, record keeping, team leadership, being creative, and showing them that you are, what you could provide for this position, through work that you've done in 4-H. And Newt brought up a good point about when kids do something, to make sure you point it out to them. You just learned this, which was really important, that they understand that they are doing these life skills through the 4-H projects they're working on. So I think that sums it up.
Thank you, Deb. Tori, how about your group?
Ours was pretty straightforward. We had a forestry technician. One of the things that we noted on here was that there was a specific degree and coursework requirement. So they actually had to have specific courses in order to get employed with that job. So, that's one thing to always be looking at, out for, especially for federal positions. This one was with the USDA. And then in terms of life skills, soft skills, we talked about, they needed to be detail oriented and have really good time management, be organized, be able to communicate very technical information. This person was responsible for sales, timber sales, so needing to be able to effectively communicate really technical information pretty widely. So so that's kind of pretty straightforward for us.
Wonderful, thank you. Carol, did you have a group?
Yes, I was a note taker for the group. Julio, did you want to cover anything? Or do you want me to just read the notes?
Sure, no, I can go over it. So our position was an entry-level welder. So some of the soft skills that we went over were basically being punctual, time management type of skills, being able to communicate, follow directions, having a strong sense of responsibility, definitely in your work, being a team player as well. Technical skills that we went over, definitely having like a welding certificate, so having that background and training, being able to pass a on-site welding assessment, ability to read blueprints, also having being familiar with welding equipment, being able to repair it in case your equipment breaks down, also having strong knowledge of safety skills to meet any type of OSHA requirements. And lastly, also we talked about identified that they did need to have at least a high school diploma or a GED.
Wonderful, thank you, Julio. All right, Bo, how about your group?
I'm turning over to Sadie.
Okay, Sadie.
All right, so we had an HR assistant role. And first off, one thing that kind of took our group aback was how much qualifications went into this role description. There was a ton of qualifications that a recent high school graduate may not have had, a lot of hard skills they may not have had, such as interviewing. But we were able to go in and kind of dive in and find keywords that would help out in a resume, and be able to pull situations such as being in 4-H and the team building skills that comes along with that, as well as just entry-level jobs folks might have had in high school that they could pull them on and capture those keywords and make sure that you have a resume that can fit. But a lot of our discussion was about, okay, a recent grad may not have a lot of these skills, but how can we use what they do have to apply for this job?
Wonderful. Were there any other groups? I'm guessing with our numbers, that's kind of how we broke out. Okay. All right. Excellent. Thank you, facilitators. I know that the way we put that together, I was kind of curious of how that would all play out. So thank you. All right. Sadie, can you go back to the PowerPoint? So to wrap up this section, I hope that between the visual piece of making your mask and doing this little activity around thinking about position descriptions and postings, and the skills that kids already have or that they need to build, of how we might think about that differently as you build the middle part of your bridge and those blocks to put it together. So Sadie, let's go on to the next slide. I am going to just remind you of a couple of other resources, and I think I will stick to the ones that were not already in what Tori talked about. One of the things I might mention, if you are not familiar with this one, check out Discovery Education. It's at discoveryeducation.com, and that is located in California. And there are a variety of workforce development resources available through that site, including virtual field trips that could help with career exploration, as I have heard a couple of you talk about and mention, particularly today versus Monday's session. Careers.com, I covered that by providing a live example. That is filled with all sorts of agriculture and natural resources related actual job postings and a variety of other tools that are available to anyone. And then Sadie, if you would go on to the next slide, please. Thank you. Again, there are a variety of USDA sites, including Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and the Federal Reserve, that we have listed as opportunities for you to look at for information and for programming and individual resources. Want to remind you that linking up with universities, community colleges, other colleges, and learning institutions that you might have available, if you're not already hooked in and linked in with them, think about doing that. Of course, we're going to put in a plug for 4-H, FFA, extensions, innovation centers, where some states have the opportunities to help foster entrepreneurship and help individuals think outside the box and start to be creative. Also want to mention, because youth financial management and sort of personal finance is important these days too, the National Endowment for Financial Education is full of free resources and curriculum, not only for schools to use, but nonprofits, anyone that wants to get a hold of their resources, really wonderful materials. And then the other one that I will mention very quickly is the Cisco Networking Academy, which again, if you haven't found what you need yet, these sites and online tools are just full of all sorts of professional development, personal development, job opportunities, skill development, just all sorts of things. And many of these sites are on our resource handout. So with that, I think for the sake of time, I'm not going to take questions on this section yet. I think we'll save that for the end. And with that, Catherine, we need, and Sadie, roll the next slide and take us to a 5-minute break where you can at least get up, stretch, refill quickly if you need to, but do walk away for a moment, stretch, and come back for our last section about capacity building.
Okay, welcome back for those of you who are back. I know taking a break is very, very nice, so thank you, Deb, for letting us do that. As you've heard many times already, we're talking about the how, and I almost feel that you've heard the term before. We're flying the plane as we're building it, which I don't know about you, but that scares the holy living daylights out of me. But in a way, the analogy is similar to this. We're building the bridge now as we talk about each of these sections. We talked about awareness. We've talked about skill. Now the third leg of our discussion is building capacity. So the intent is that not all communities or organizations are prepared to do workforce development from the get-go. So the way you help them be prepared and be more effective at doing that is by building capacity. And there are going to be two elements that we're going to talk about today. Now, there's a lot more. Capacity is a big topic. It's got a lot of different dimensions to it. But for purposes of our discussion today, we're going to focus primarily on two. One of them is supporting staff development, and the second is supporting program development. And I've come to find out from Tory with his federal appointment, they call that service delivery. An extension, we may call it program development or outreach. So what I want to do is before we move to the next slide, I want to go ahead and tell you a little bit about what we mean here to give you a little bit more insight. Supporting staff development, that part, in my view, has two different kinds of strands associated with it. One of them, can you find people internally within your organization? If you're extension, can you find people in 4-H and community development and family and consumer science and ag and natural resources? Are there natural partners within your agency or your university or extension service that you can mobilize or you can tap to be part of your team? Because what that does, really, when you think about it, is that it expands your bench strength. It's like having a basketball team. The more people you get, the more strength you have. And so talking the same thing when it comes to this aspect of workforce development. Or if you're not an extension, any kind of organization, nonprofit, entity that's involved, a school system, who are the entities, your colleagues internally that you can reach out to? And the other part of this is really, is the second strand is really reaching out to external partners who you think would add a supplement, would add strength to your table, people who give you strength that you don't have internally. And that would be one important thing. It could be a nonprofit organization. It could be our USDA rural development representatives. It could be other youth serving organizations and so on. I think many of you have done this kind of program, know there's a lot of real resources out there that you can tap. Now, again, both the internal and the external entities will have to be brought up to speed in terms of training. Our hope is that what we're sharing with you today and what we shared with you earlier this week will be resources you can coach them and guide them on the materials we've been using. With regard to supporting program development, it's entities outside your group, outside your agency or organization who can help you along the way. You know, this is if you're going from now to wow, and you need to show the how needs different elements. It needs different people along the way to help make it happen. And that's where you really need some support. Who are the people who can support you? For example, could you have somebody who could help support the underwriting of your initiative? Are there resources available? Are there people who might be willing to serve as mentors or allow job shadowing to take place in their business? Or can provide a facility if you need it, if we ever get out of COVID-19, where you can actually house workshops, having those physical facilities available at various parts of the community. All those things are a really important component of supporting program development. The other aspect, of course, is money. Are there entities who can help provide access to grants, other financial support that would be needed to really make this program sustainable over the long term? So if you want to go to the next page, the next slide, what we want to do now is to provide you an opportunity in a small group to share one another, each of your others' ideas relate to youth workforce development. So to jumpstart discussion, what we'd like for you to do in this breakout room when we get together is decide quickly what youth workforce development topic would you like to talk about. Is it career exploration? Is it entrepreneurship development? Is it creating a makerspace in your community where young people can develop their kind of creative energies? Could it be job mentorship or shadowing program, or whatever we decided in our small group? Immediately select a topic that we want to talk about, and then what we would want to do then is are there grants available to support this project? And has any member of our team been involved in applying for a grant? And if they've been successful, what made it successful? How did they do that? And if it wasn't successful, what did you learn from that? Okay. Then the last part, we're gonna do this all together to make sure we use our time efficiently. So the second part of our breakout room is we're gonna do this red light, green light activity. Now, what do I mean by that? As we think about people to invite to serve as resources or entities that can help build our bench strength, it's probably not a bad idea to reflect on, okay, what have been our experiences working in a group, organizations we belong to, or projects we've worked on. Which ones of those did you stay involved in, and why? What made you stay? and if you did have an active role in an organization or some other project, but you left, what prompted you to leave? What were the factors that led you to decide, I'm leaving my time and talent. I'm pulling out of that effort. So we're going to also talk about this red light. What can we identify collectively in our green rooms about experiences we've had that made us stay in an organization and things that have prompted us to leave? And how can we learn from that so that when we do reach out to individuals, we're trying to get a win-win situation. We have specific needs, but we want to make sure that what we do is really a positive benefit to that individual or the organization or agency that they represent, okay? So that's what we're gonna do. So let's go ahead and move into our breakout room. And Deb, help me here with the timing. Do we have about 20 minutes roughly? Would that be right? And let's do a quick wrap up here because I know we've got a couple more things and we'll move it on to Tori. Let's find out who is, Deb, I'm gonna ask you because I know, is it okay if you go ahead and kind of give an update on our team, the committee we got joined? Are you Sadie?
Sure. We decided to focus on what if we already had a makerspace for young people where they could learn to think creatively, maybe start some of their own products or ideas, and create something entrepreneurial. So actually, I believe it's Idaho, I hope I guessed correctly, that actually has something underway, and they are working on putting some mobile trailers together, which would probably need more funds to be expanded as far as a grant opportunity. So we talked a little bit about who might be supportive of that. And then with the red light, green light piece, some folks shared some successful partnerships that they've been a part of, and that the reason that they stay has to do with being passionate, or there are similar mission or goals in place, and that those groups are accomplishing something. And then red light, things that were indicated in our group had to do with being involved with something that seems to never end. Like there's no end to your membership or to your stint in that group or in that role, or difference of opinion or thought on what the goals and mission are in a group has a tendency to break down partnerships.
Thank you, Deb. Carol, did you have a group as well?
Yes, I did. And to go with the grant funding, and if Nancy, correct me if I don't cover this, where they worked on a project or they have a 4-H project, a build future, and aligns with like technical skills and education skills and things like that, and applying for a grant program where when they review it, they kind of misinterpret what the real purpose of the thing was. So sometimes understanding grants, they'll put the synopsis out there and then you do all the paperwork. And then when they get to looking at it, it's like that's not the purpose or something. So not having that clear understanding when they write grants and put them out there. And then the red light, green light, just want to, some of the inactivity and productivity. One, we talked about changing, again, like Deb said, the changing interests or priorities of the organization. But a lot of times it's if you had a personal job change or your job duties change, it pulls you away from that. Time restrictions with all these things with our, so it's some things why people leave because of time restrictions where their new duties or current duties shift and they just can't make the time for all the additional requirements. Reasons why people stay: a supportive team working well together. It resonates. The mission means a lot to you. It resonates with you. So there's that commitment. And then, again, buy-in with the mission is the reason why people stay.
And Tori, did you do a group as well?
I did. We had a little hiccup with technology, but I'll go through our red light, green light. So red light issues, obviously the some of the issues that people experience in terms of not balancing the workload between members of the partnership or volunteers. So some volunteers take on more of a responsibility or are being asked to take on more of a responsibility than others. You have some issues around, if you're new to an organization, you keep getting asked to do more and more and more and more, and you're like, whoa, I just wanted to dip my toe in, right? And some green light issues or some green light areas where, where things have worked or being on the same, working towards a common goal, being on the same page, committed team, being as part of a committed team. And so that's kind of the things we discussed. In terms of the grant, a lot of our folks didn't necessarily work a lot with grants, but I did want to note that one of the things that we talk a lot about are getting past the names of certain grants. So for especially federal grants, so sometimes a lot of USDA grants, for example, our Community Food Projects grant through NIFA is a phenomenal grant that does a lot of great youth development work, but you would never know by the title, right? And a lot of our youth serving organizations don't apply because it doesn't scream youth, right? So getting past the name of some of these grants so that people have more of an opportunity to apply for some of these funds, which, $200,000 can go a long way to do some really cool stuff in your community.
Right. Say, to piggyback on what Tori just said, Vince Palmier, who is a USDA Rural Development out of Ohio, reminded us that their Rural Business Development Grant program they have there could very well support some of the things that we've all talked about in terms of youth development, workforce development programs. That might be a really good fit. So that's a good option to look at as well. Let me go ahead and move on to the next couple of pages, slides very quickly, so that we can turn over to our next speaker. These, again, we've been talking about resources and all the different awareness, skills, and now capacity building. These are great resources. Again, USDA has great ones. Again, capacity building, some great grants out of NIFA that are available. National Institute of Food and Agriculture, we use a lot of acronyms. Their fellowship programs. Obviously, past recipients can be outstanding or really instrumental in helping us learn the do's and don'ts when it comes to grant activities. Workforce development, every state has a workforce development entity. There, and of course, 4-H and FFA have resources to build capacity. If you go on the next slide, please. Then these are different. Rather than repeat all these, a lot of these you've seen before. Again, there's some real key resource capacity building resources that relate to our different kinds of universities, our Hispanic serving institutions, our 1890 land grant institutions, our historically Black colleges, and then our tribal colleges and universities, what we call 1994s. And of course, Extension has a lot of good resources, our 4-H program, the National 4-H Council. Look those up. Some of these are state-based programs that have been developed by some of our land grant extension programs, and there are others are more by the National 4-H Council. Go ahead and get to the next one here. And then I think finally, public sector. No, we're lucky in Indiana. We have a community foundation in every county, all 92 counties. That's a logical source to go to help build capacity, to build a workforce effort. And then we have others that have been mentioned already, some of our previous speakers. So hopefully, again, check those things out. All great materials that you can tap for your capacity building efforts. With that, I will go ahead and move it over to Tori for the final set of items to deal with.
All right, everybody, we made it, right? There's a lot of material, we made it. We really hope that it was worthwhile and you learned something and you're able to take away something. So next steps. So what did we just spend the last 2.5 hours learning and growing together for? One, I hope you benefited personally in your endeavors. I know we had a few folks here that are new to their positions in 4-H and Extension. So obviously we hope you personally benefited. But we're also looking for some additional steps, and we're hoping that you take this and you actually host a capacity building workshop in your community for your youth serving organizations, whether they be nonprofits, or your Extension colleagues, in one of your universities, so that you can take the material that you learned today and grow the number of people who have that information exponentially. So we're hoping that you will take this train the trainer model, you'll take it into your community and actually train others with this. So next slide. So we've been talking about this all day, all right? Support materials and referring back to them. On the participant page, on the registration participant page, there is a lot of helpful materials. There's videos, there's PowerPoints, there's PDFs that you can utilize. And there's also a really handy resource page that you can download and keep in your back pocket and keep on your computer and refer back to. It has a lot of the links that we talked about today, a lot of the websites and information that we talked about today, as well as some of the things that we didn't, some of the things that will directly serve some of the youth that you're working with, including jobs, what to expect on your first job, how to dress for a job interview, and writing resumes. And we'll also be posting both recordings from session 1. So if you're new to our group and you're just joining us for session 2, if you want to go back and refer to session 1, so you can get that great information on those foundational pillars that we talked about, the now and the wow, right? You can refer back to that. So we'll get that posted as soon as possible so you can refer back to that. All right, next slide. Virtual office hours. So our commitment to you all does not stop with these last sessions, Monday and today. We will actually be providing office hours. Again, we'll refer you back to the participant information page in terms of how to actually access those, and you'll, I believe, be using the same link that you used today, but you can see the dates: August 10th, August 19th, and August 28th. So once a week, we're going to make ourselves available for about an hour. You don't have to register, pre-register. So if you're free and you want to book us and just have a conversation with us about some of the specific projects or issues you're having with your community, or if you want to follow up on some of the topics that were discussed over Monday or today, we're going to be making ourselves available. I don't believe our whole team will be there, but I think we're going to have at least 2 or 3 of us on each one of these calls. So yeah, if you want to join us. Oh, Deb says that actually it's a different link. So be sure to head over to the participant information page. All right, drum roll. We are there. We made it. That was a lot. That was a lot. Right, Deb? I see you smiling. That was a lot.
I am very excited right now. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, right. We're excited because this is some great information, and we got it out to you all, and we're looking forward to having some of those individualized conversations during our office hours. Now we're going to turn it over to, actually, one quick thing before I turn it over for Q&A. There is an evaluation link. So we'd like to know whether this works. So one of the things I don't think we mentioned was that this was a pilot. So we're looking for any feedback possible, whether or not this worked, whether you hated it, whether it was the worst time of your life or whether it was the best time of your life, right? We need to know what worked for you. So if you could take a look at the link in the chat box, the evaluation link, and let us know so that we can fix it and as we roll this out nationally. Yeah, so take a look at that link. So now I'll turn it over to Q&A. Any comments, questions, burning desires that you all have that you just gotta get off your chests?
Any one of us are willing to help follow up, whether we know all the answers or whether we know who to contact to find the answers. If we've given you some ideas or you get thinking about what we covered and you need a refresher or you need clarification or have an idea, we are available. So please reach out to us.
Deborah, this is Nancy Shelsted. I do have a quick question for you.
Yes.
When we were talking about resumes and identifying specifically the soft skills in job descriptions that it would be important for youth to have on their resume for an employer to match those up. Also being a person who reviews resumes, and I see just a list of soft skills on a resume, the first question that comes to my mind is, how did you gain those? You know, you're telling me you're responsible, you communicate well, you have leadership skills. How do I know that those aren't just words? How do I know how they gained those soft skills, and how do you advise them to connect those dots?
Are you one of the individuals that work in Extension?
Yes, I do.
Okay, because then you're like a colleague that I can refer and link to. So I think that as we work with young people, or even adults that we're helping enter the workforce, I think taking what they have done in projects, or taking the skills and the things that they know how to do, and explain that I learned, or I fostered my leadership skills by being a team leader for 3 years in my 4-H club. I raised market beef, but I actually learned time management, decision making, and problem solving by raising a market beef project. So you tie the skill with what you did together.
And I would completely agree 100%. That's what I would like to see on a resume as someone who is reviewing them for a specific job. My challenge is typically I don't see that. What I see is just a bulleted list of life skills that they claim. And I don't see how they got there.
Right.
And so constantly work with kids and coach them how to connect those dots, I have found to be a challenge sometimes. So I was interested in how you do it.
Right. So when I have opportunities with adults or community partners or those young people, I share those types of examples and just blatantly say, so how do I know that you did this stuff? What were you doing that you learned these skills, or that you feel that you've mastered these soft skills or life skills? And help them understand that when you put it in a context of what I learned through doing X, Y, or Z, that it shows an employer that you really, know what you're talking about. There's some evidence there that you really did what you say you did. And I think that's also how us, at least in Extension, can help bridge the gap amongst our Extension clientele and with communities, when we can show them that here's the project or the topic and what did you get out of it. That's more important than just listing what 5 soft skills you have as part of doing your resume for English class. That we help make it real. And hopefully over time, we're going to see more of those that have that content instead of just that list that you refer to. That, yes, I've seen that list too.
Hey, Deb, I just want to add that that's something that we talk a lot about with students is we get them to think about adding their volunteer experience to their resume. They're often overlooking that, and we often tell the young people that you're getting a lot of really great, if not tangible, hard skill sets from, but marketing or communication, right? But you're also getting a lot of life skills that you can incorporate into your resume through a lot of those volunteer activities, right? So you're talking about your commitment, but if you have been with an organization volunteering for 6 years, that's 6 years of commitment that you can demonstrate on your resume, to employers. That, not only are you great with the organization and you're great with marketing, right? You've done marketing for the Humane Society for 6 years, right? That's a lot of great experience that young people are often leaving off of their resume because they haven't been told to include some of those things. So I hope that helps.
All right. Well, so you've had 5 hours worth of training in the bridge building activity and working with us this week. I have certainly enjoyed it. I think this has been a dynamite team to work with, and we've learned a lot. And I want to thank Sadie. She jumped right in here a few weeks ago and joined this group as a new intern or fellow with USDA, and she's been awesome and helped with the PowerPoint. She's been helping behind the scenes, so thank you. And thank you to our other fellow colleagues that helped facilitate, because we needed all hands on deck, so to speak. So thank you. Anyone want to add party comments before we depart?
No, thank you for letting us be part of this thing, and look forward to hearing from most of you, hopefully, in the office hours.
Good luck, everyone.